Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today we're looking at the Trade Federation Droid Bomber, or the Advanced Droid Bomber. This was a droid starfighter used by the Trade Federation and later in the Confederacy for Independent Systems. Kind of going through our characteristics here on Wikipedia. The Advanced Droid Bomber was well armed with 4 laser cannons in a high capacity bomb bay. Although well armored and shielded, it was slow and lacked maneuverability. In most cases, the bomber was deployed in squadrons of 5. While the Vulture-class droid starfighter enjoyed both maneuverability and speed, these bombers were easy to hit due to their predictability of their flight path. Like the Vulture and other Federation starfighters, these craft were usually slave to a central control computer, often or on board a Looser Hulk class droid control ship. The craft was a Zychar design. The bomber was used against the pirate Nim on Locke during the invasion of Naboo. In 32 BBY, the Trade Federation employed the droid bombers against the planet's resistance force and subjugant civilian population. The bomber saw further use in other places of the Federation activity, such as Kartik system. They were also placed on board C-9979 carriers guarding Nad Kartha. They were later used by the Confederacy of Independent Systems during the Clone Wars at the Battle of Vendier. Behind the scenes, the bombers first appeared in the 2000 video game series Episode 1 Battle for Naboo. So we do have some sources here which does place this in different places here. Appearances: Star Wars Starfighter, Star Wars Episode 1 Battle for Naboo, Star Wars Jedi Starfighter, and Clone Wars Adventures, Heroes on Both Sides, Star Wars Clone Wars Adventures Volume 5. So that gives us a little bit of an idea where this all kind of comes from. You know, watching episode 1, I don't really remember seeing this all that often in the first episode, although I do remember seeing it more in episode 2 and episode 3. And this shape, which is what they have, is not what I have in our book here. So we'll see what we have. All right, so looking at the droid bomber in our D6 Galaxy stats here from the Star Wars game. So Zychar Cathedral Factories droid bomber. This is from the Trade Federation alignment from the Old Republic. So this is considered a surface bomber, starfighter scale, roughly about 3.9 meters long. So it's not a very big fighter, much like the droid starfighter itself. And I know that in playing the games in the D6, because depending on who's kind of doing the stats and all that, because this is ported over from uh, Wizards of the Coast into West End Games and all that. And some people think it should be at speeder scale. Some people think it should be at starfighter scale. And there's this kind of back and forth. Either way, whatever you decide to have it, because I mean it is a small droid in all reality. It is a small droid, but it is more or less a starfighter. So yeah, I mean, I see both sides of that, and it's always going to be a contested thing. What scale would you really put this at? I mean, you could half it out, and you could just say it's at Walker scale because now it's one step up from our speeder, and yet one step down from our starfighter. You could split that difference if you really wanted to. Either way, it's really being listed as a starfighter scale. but it's only 3.9 meters long. So this is still fairly small in that reality. Um, but we'll kind of move on from there. All right, so skill wise, the Droid Starfighter or Droid Programming Droid Bomber. Let's see. Crew is none. Of course, it's a droid brain in there. Now it has a starfighter piloting of 2, starfighter gunnery of 3, and starship's shield of 2. So this is pretty much just a average of what your galactic standard would be. So it's not a very intelligent droid beyond just what your average galactic being would be. So it's just more or less a run of the mill. Um, which is interesting because when you look at it in regards to your regular battle droids, the shooting and all that is actually pretty high up. They're fairly good marksmen. Um, so in those regards, you're getting a lot of good troops out of the actual battle droids. Uh, the skill wise and all that, they're pretty, you know, respectable troops. And as it was kind of stated in the movie series, they're hard. They're actually considered more hardened troops. So, and it does make some sense. Now we do have a cargo capacity of 80 kilograms. I don't know if that would really be there or not, seeing it's a droid in there, but who knows? Um, the cost brand new is about 74,000 credits for 4 of them, and about 5,000 for a control unit on whatever ship you're going to put it onto. Um, kind of going from there, let's see, that'd be about 35, 36, 15, about 19,000 credits per droid, roughly. And then another five grand for a control module to be added to wherever you're gonna put it. In all reality, I mean, they're very inexpensive in comparison to a lot of other starfighters that you're going to actually encounter or be in. So, in those regards, it does make a lot of sense. Um, you can have a droid do all the dirty work, the fighting, and all that you don't really want to get your own hands into. They're not very expensive. You know, for what they were originally intended for, to be able to just protect convoys and all that, yep, makes all the sense in the world. We're good. But, it is what it is. Okay, we do have a maneuverability of 1D plus 1. So, like it said in our reading, they're not very maneuverable. This is not very maneuverable. This is less than what our galactic standard would be. Has a space of 7, which does make sense for the time frame that it comes out in. If you remember, I believe we had the Y-Wing. The Y-Wing itself is a fighter that will be coming out here shortly in the regards to this, or at about the same time, and that is a space speed of 7. It's not a fast fighter, but the fact that it is also a fighter bomber. So that makes a slight difference. It doesn't need the extra speed because it's also doing the bombing runs. Atmosphere-wise, it can go 1,350 kilometers an hour. It does have a hull strength of 3D, so it is a little bit robust. It's more robust than our later TIE fighters. Let's see. Sensors-wise, has a passive scan out to 2 kilometers at 0D bonus. The active scan out to 3.5 kilometers at a 1D bonus. Has a active search out to 5 kilometers at a 2D bonus, and a focus out to 300 meters at a 2D plus 2D plus 1 bonus. I'm sorry. All right, weapons. This is saying it only has um, 2 laser cannons. So the one that I was reading before, where I was kind of seeing 4, that's a different variant of this apparently. I thought I was getting the right one, but obviously I'm wrong, and this is a different variant. So keep that in mind. Really, I think the write-up is going to be about the same though. because as things progress, uh, it's not as maneuverable. This does fit the bill, and everything seems like it's right. Just yeah, um, but it has the two laser cannons. But because you're losing two laser cannons compared to what we were getting before, or this is the Mark One, where later on would be like a Mark Two. Uh, we have two energy torpedo launchers as well as a proton bomb launcher. So this is a combination here. The laser cannons having a fire control of 1D and a damage of 4D, so that's not that bad for the time frame. It's not the most powerful, but it is not that bad for the time frame. Uh, the energy torpedo launchers, these are fire link, has a fire control of 2D plus 1 and a damage of 9D. So this is really, I would say that this is really going to be your primary weapon system, if you can. And because it's an energy torpedo, you can keep firing this until it runs out of power. So I don't see any reason why this couldn't be more or less your primary weapon. But we also have the proton bomb launcher. Now this is ventral. This is a fire control of 2D plus 2. Um, has a range up to 500 kilometers. And I don't really normally talk too much about the range in a lot of this stuff. Our energy torpedoes are the same way, but this is really meant for hitting ground targets or bombing capital ships or whatever. But this is doing 13 dice. And if you keep a thought of, I think a Star Destroyer, a later on Star Destroyer has a hull of 10D, so that's 10 dice. This is pretty respectable, even later on in the time frame. So, you know, even an outdated fighter like this, and then I know it was kind of a sideline comment that was done in one of the video games. Just because it's old doesn't mean it's ineffective. It may not be as powerful or as fast as what some of the newer stuff is, but it still has the ability to bring some hurt to other fighters, other capital class ships. So, um, and really the fact that you can get four of them for 74,000 credits. Could you imagine if you had a kind of see it in the regards of a mercenary unit that is running kind of a disguised freighter. So it looks like a standard freighter, but it actually is meant to hunt pirates and all that. And it has four of these on there as well. You could swing out some extra weapons, attack pirates, and you could also deploy four of these droid bombers, and you could bring in a lot of hurt to any capital vessel, or even if they were to throw a asteroid or something in the path of your travel, you could always deploy these and then break that up without much difficulty. So, uh, it's interesting. I mean, it's a more common ship that we get to see, but just the wide range of uses you could probably use this for. Outside of, yes, it was a separatist ship kind of thrust into the Clone Wars to help fight. But, at the heart of what was the separatist army to begin with was really to help defend themselves against pirates to begin. And then they got morphed into separating from the Galactic Republic and then ensuing into a galactic civil war. So whether you like how that all worked out or not, it is a nice innocent way of how this kind of transpired and became what it became. And I think this is a very good showing of how it could have been to where it ended up really being. Um, so with that, I think we'll close this up. Thank you so very much for joining me. It's always wonderful having you stop by. Hope you're having a wonderful day, and we'll see you in the next video.